Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for taking your precious afternoon with us. My name is Waifu, and I'm the co-founder of Blended Concept. Before we get started, I would like to introduce a little bit about what we do. So I'm excited to introduce you to Blended Concept. We're a hybrid learning organization dedicated to driving transformative change. So we have helped people and organizations grow through both classroom and digital learning. Something that makes us unique is how we blend our pedagogy in our face-to-face design with now currently we're moving towards more flexible learning in the digital space so that rather than getting people out from their work or their daily tasks, we are bringing learning to everybody within the community, the workplaces, as well as within the schools. So over the past years, we have trained more than 1,800 participants across corporate clients, and we are humbled to hold a 4.9 rating on Google Review with a 95 satisfaction points across our program. So we are also a recognized company of good by MVPC, and we are actually a registered social enterprise with RAISE. So we are also running HPV programs such as the Workplace Wellness Outreach Scheme with HPV, and we are the appointed training partner of Singapore Prison Service to train both professionals and volunteers. So the Google reviews, the ratings, and the experience that we create for our learners is only possible because of the people that we have. And one of the niche that we really have, and I'm also honored to be working alongside with a team of dedicated professionals, mostly from the field of psychology, counseling, and social work, where we bring about insights into human behavior and resilience to kind of help individuals make sense of their challenges in life at the workplace and to transform um, and create lasting changes. So with this, let me pass the mic over to Alastair, who will be taking you through today's webinar on self-reflexive approaches to enhancing your personal growth and development. So Alastair.
Hi, everyone. Alastair. Just a very quick introduction. I don't want to spend too much time talking about myself because today's webinar is all about you. I'm a professional counselor by training, and I've been conducting workshops of various kinds for quite a number of years already. So let's begin. Very often when we look at change and we look at what things we want in life, we kind of get stuck because we make goals, we make plans. Sometimes it goes accordingly, sometimes it doesn't. So let's begin by putting things in perspective. So if I were to ask you, right, if you were to meet me in a face-to-face coaching session or counseling session, and I asked you, what do you want in life? How would you respond? Right, so there is a little QR code available. Go right here and scan it. Don't tell me what you want in life. It's all anonymous, so don't worry. If you want $1 million, that's fine. So do I. So no one's going to say that, speak unkindly of you. So what do you want in life? The goals we have, the vision that we have of ourselves, sometimes it's professional, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's familial. So let's look in terms of context, right? So we have things like living happily, healthily, peace, freedom, stability, love, happiness, 10 mil. Yep, join the club. Joy, serenity, being able to be stress-free, right? So peace and freedom seems to be quite a big, quite shared by quite a number of people. Purpose, right? Loving family, successful career, some sort of stability, perhaps financial, perhaps emotional. Being happily, healthy, wealthy. Wow, okay. Comfortable. Significance, right? So significance could be you living a life of significance, of benefit, and of help to others, right? Other people are the ones that will benefit. Well, freedom seems to be quite a common theme, right? Peace, love, purpose, financial independence, fire, retire early, okay. Health, contentment, okay. Control, wow, okay. That's an interesting way of looking, right? To be able to control outcomes, to be able to be in control, let's put it this way, right? Beneficial to others. Okay. Right. So when we are asked, what do we want in life? There are two ways of looking at it. We could have goals that are in context of the problems we are currently facing. And we have this thinking that if the goals that we achieve, then our problems will disappear. If we are running, I mean, they're not running away from things, but we are having some sort of crisis, some sort of crossroads, perhaps what we need, we get, then the crossroads will kind of like, we find meaning, find solutions, and we are able to move forward, right? So again, I challenge you right now to ask yourself, you don't have to answer this in the pseudo, but it's a bit of a silent reflection. What do you think you need in order to get there? I mean, it's obvious. If someone says, I want 10 mil, obviously I need 10 mil to get there. But what do you need so that you're able to generate that kind of wealth? What do you think you need in order to get freedom, stability? Some of the things that we talked about in the previous slide, right? Purpose, happiness. What do you think you need so that you can get these things that you are looking for, the things that you want? Right? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to pen it down somewhere or to think about it, to be able to live happily, healthily, to be able to have a successful career, loving family. What do you think you need in order to get there? Do you need the compliance? Do you need the help of others? Do you need to get lucky? Right? Singapore pools, buy a big ship ticket. What do you think you need in order to get there? Okay, I'll give you a couple of 2 more minutes just to pen it down. What do you think you need to get there? And then I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to see if a shift in thinking is required in order for you to achieve the things that you want in life. Because we are kind of consumed with the if only I had this, then I can be mindset. What if we just decided to shift things around and move things the other way around? Right? Here's food for thought. When we have kind of thinking that says, when I have more time, I can have spend more time with my family. When I have more money, I'll be more stable. When I get the promotion, I'll climb the corporate ladder. I can be a bit more settled, bit more successful when things settle down. So when you look at the when I have, if only then kind of thinking, the question I have for you then is, how long do you have to wait? And do the stars have all to align and everything goes according to your plan? Then you can be happy. Then you can have the stability. Then you can have the loving relationship. Then you can have the successful career. What if you change the way you think from what I had, then I can be, to the other way around? What if I challenge you? Who must you be in order for you to achieve the things that you want in life? How would you then look at the goals you have and in terms of the way you attain it? How would you then ask yourself, is the control of my life and the goals I want now within the realm of my own control? That means it starts from within me before I go out there and to make a difference. Right now, the thinking could be very much, if the things around me align, things that happen positively to me, then I can be someone to be able to have someone. Stitch. Okay, we ask ourselves, what kind of person must I be in order to acquire, and what kind of person must I be? What must I do? Be able to hold that space when I face setbacks, when my goals are being called into question, or when I don't get the progress I'm looking for. Who must I be so that I'm able to successfully continue with this journey to attain the things that I'm looking for? And now I'm also going to ask you, the things that you want, who do you want this for? Yourself, the people around you, or to overcome some of the setbacks you are facing in life? So if you are having financial crisis, what would life be like once your financial situation is stabilized? Is that all there is after that? Once it's stabilized, there's nothing else. There's no more vision. There's no more purpose. I think one of the things that we need to also realize that life is a continuous progress of growth. If I have the mindset, right, that when I have, I'll do, then I'll be, that mindset could inevitably lead to stagnation. If I want to continue to grow, I want to continue to be a person of influence, impact, I want to be able to lift myself to higher levels of ability, higher levels of contribution, higher levels of being, making a difference in my family, making a difference in my office, then the question is, how can I continue to evolve? How can I continue to do more, to do better? I can pick up skills. I can learn how to do trading, for example. Then I trade. But what happens if I need these setbacks? What happens if my greed gets in the way? What happens if I don't get the kind of milestones or success I'm looking for based on my own agenda? Do I then let's throw everything out the window? So who must I be? What must I do so that I can have? And the tussle that we were trying to align is the tussle between the life you're living and the life you're wanting to create. Right? Many people talk about contentment. What is the definition of contentment? I think contentment comes from aligning these two. Right? The life I'm living, the life I want, I'm able to align these. Then I'm able to appreciate the journey, because the journey is as important as the destination. Many of us focus on the destination, and sometimes we don't realize it, but the journey takes away a lot of what matters to us, shapes us, changes us. And what happens when you reach your final destination and you don't quite like the person you become? Or you realize that when you reach that finishing line, you are there by yourself, no one to complete the race with you. So we are asked in some respect to, at some point in your life, to challenge our way of thinking, right? Whether you are someone who's in charge and control your life, or someone who's in that flow, or maybe that person who's still stuck. So let me introduce to you this concept of the 4 levels of consciousness. And I ask this question: is life happening? Some of us may say, yes, life is happening to me. I'm so unlucky, right? Things don't seem to go my way. My friends do things to me. I'm a victim of people's moods. I'm a victim of circumstances, my job, my boss, everything, right? I feel helpless. Like things are just happening. People are out to get me. At some point in time, we may also look at ourselves and say, oh, life is happening by me. I'm in control. Right? I'm proving myself. I'm in charge, and things are happening to me. The third level of consciousness is a little bit more abstract, but you can hear people saying things like, I think things are happening for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. So life is happening through me. I am guided by my values. I'm guided by an understanding that everything is happening for a purpose, and I'm willing to accept it. Or perhaps even level 4, where life is happening as me. So if you had downloaded the ebook, you can read through it and hopefully make your own notes. If you haven't downloaded the ebook and you're listening to me, so level 1 is very much where you are a victim and you have a sense of helplessness, right? There may be a lack of awareness about the source of problems or issues. So some people will meet with constant setback at the workplace. Perhaps they don't realize that the way they go about presenting themselves at the workplace, the kind of interactions they have with their colleagues and their superiors, doesn't help bolster their credibility or show the abilities to other people in the way that they want to. So very often you hear people blaming and externalizing outcome. If something negative happens, I'm unlucky. If something happens, I'm lucky. Right? Very little attribution to personal responsibility or accountability. Now, these situations we hear very often, perhaps with teenagers, but I've worked with adults in my clinical practice in their 30s and 40s who still feel that they're very much at the mercy of their spouse, at the mercy of their children, at the mercy of the parents, in-laws, and pretty much things are just happening to them and they feel so unfair. But at some point, we may realize that, hey, what if I took a bit of control back? What if I begin to realize that there is a cause of all these issues and I begin to look internally, not just blame outwards, right? So now I begin to get a bit more focused on my own personal responsibility. I feel a bit more empowered to take control. I attend classes, I go for courses, I try to interact more with other people. I believe that I am in charge of my own outcome. There's a constant striving to be successful. I manage the problems a little bit better. I am in more control. Much greater levels of awareness than level 1. And this is a stop in the journey. But what happens when things go wrong? Because you realize then the control and the desires and the goals you have is pretty much still affected by external environmental factors or expectations. The 5 C's, the world expects me to do well, and in order for me to prove that I do well, I must have this, I must have that. I'm still very much driven by the fact that I want to prove to my family that I can achieve this, etc. And that sense of frustration, the sense of helplessness when things don't go your way, could cause you to spiral from level 2 back to a level 1. And you go into this phase where you begin to blame your workplace, you're going to blame the people around you, you're going to blame your fate, your fortune, whatever. And then you snap out of it, and then you move back to level 2. But that circle continues to repeat itself. Purpose, control, helpless. Purpose, control, helpless. At some point, you may, through a conversation like the one we are having, or a workshop like the one that we usually conduct every month, you may begin to realize that perhaps there must be more to the way I see things and the way I view my experiences. What if my experiences were stepping stones that will help me grow as a person? What if everything that happened for a reason? And the reason is not to punish me, but to show me. Right? As in everything else in life, every interaction we have is a mirror to our inner self. Every trigger that we encounter shows us something about ourselves. Now I am more conscious. Life is driven through me. I begin to find some sort of purpose. For me, purpose could have, I think, shown up when I became a father. Purpose could have shown up when I realized that there were people that I'm responsible for, not just providing, but to be able to shape, to be able to role model for them. So the purpose is now driven by a set of inner, deeper value. You act from a place where you find clarity. You begin to realize the stress of having to achieve, having to provide is there, but it is not as much as or intense as before. You think about it and you take a step back and realize I've done my best. Then the rest of it, I need to trust the process. Right? I use my skills, I use my talents to try to make an impact really where I go, whether it's with my family members, with my workplace. I try to make sure that people are affected positively through my interactions with them. You could call it fulfillment from service to service. We do a lot of study for volunteers, and every single one of them comes in with a sense of purpose. I want to be able to do good. I want to be able to contribute. I want to be able to affect change in the lives of the people around. I want to be a catalyst. But the problem with a level 3 consciousness is still kind of like, it's still, there's still a part of you involved in it. It's happening truly from control in level 2 to contribution in level 3, from driving to flowing. But there's still a sense of self. I want to do this because I want to do this for a reason. Right? Now, we're not so bad. We are saying it's a great place to start. No longer living for yourself, but for others. At some point, there may be the opportunity, or life may throw certain challenges that may prove to you that you've transcended level 3 and you move to a level 4. You begin to see things much bigger. You see the things not for what is happening, but you are able to see the bigger picture, right? You see things, you see yourselves as part of something bigger, something more meaningful, and your sense of self is still there, but it is not so intense. You're able to put aside your ego. Let's say, for example, I am volunteering. I'm trying to do good, but there is a need for me to do something else out of my area of comfort, out of my area of expertise. And I will not go like, hey, listen, I am a professional accountant by training. Why do you want me to serve in a soup kitchen? It's beneath me. But now you begin to realize it's doing good. No conditions, no strings attached. And I have a deeper sense of inner peace when I do it. I don't go and do it grudgingly and say, quickly, let's just get this done. I'm just helping out with an empty slot. But beyond that, I want to go back and do good based on my own terms. Right? So level 3, the purpose of contribution drives action. And there's still a clear sense of me acting. Level 4, the me softens. You become one. You become there's a realization, perhaps an alignment with your religious beliefs, or maybe a sense that the universe, okay, I'm part of a greater purpose. I may not see the change I affect, but I know that I'm affecting change. Perhaps in 3 generations, 4 generations, maybe I don't get to see it at all, but I know I'm part of this. So when we look at these levels, I would challenge you, if you were to identify yourself, which level would you identify with at this point in your life? Right? By me, to me, through me, as me. Right? So pretty much by me needs control, how it's happening, to me, okay, a little bit of a victim, through me, like a level 3, and as me would be a level 4. Right? So based on what you're seeing right now, there's still a sense of control. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I think when we go through life stages, it's never linear. We go through different fluctuations, right? If you are someone who just came out from uni and you're out there trying to build a career for yourself, you will be pretty much a level 2. Right? At some point in your university life, you realize I'm in charge of my learning. I'm in charge of the job opportunities that come my way. And then you go to work, and I'm no longer at the mercy of a supervisor or my colleagues or peers. I do not seek approval. I do what's good, or I do what's best because I'm professional at it. because I want to be a professional, I want to learn, go. Then you become a level 2. Now, the question is, when you face setbacks and you have difficulty, how do you deal with it? And if I were to challenge you and ask you what your vision is of yourself moving forward, some of us will say, after a while, I get good at this job and I feel that I'm stagnated and I want to do more, but I'm stuck. Okay? I'm a very small fish in a big pond, or I become a big fish in a small pond, and I need to move forward. Right? So where we are right now, I think there's kind of even split. Right? Life is happening by me. I'm in control. Life is happening through me. I believe there's a greater sense of purpose and meaning, perhaps as a parent to kids, as a supervisor to my colleagues. It shapes the way I operate on a daily level. I wake up with a sense of purpose, not with a sense of dread. I wake up knowing that although the job to other people may seem menial and meaningless, it may seem mundane by all definition of what excitement looks like, but to me, I have a quiet sense of purpose and I know it has meaning. It doesn't matter whether people realize the meaning it has, but as long as I realize and it's meaningful to me. Monetary concerns aside, yes, we do need to be successful or some modicum of success to be able to run a business, to serve others, but that's not all there is to it, right? Happiness, the money, and everything else is a byproduct. It's through the service of what I do and the meaning behind what I do that gives me a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. Then we talk about what level we would like to be on. Now, this is, I would say, almost presumptively quite obvious. Right? Everyone wants to have a higher sense of themselves. Everyone wants to be able to do things that is meaningful, that is not stressful, but the ability to serve others. I think sometimes our values and our belief systems collide. Okay? Our values of what we think is useful to others collide. And I have seen people who are very charitable, who do good, but the sense of control is still there. So what apparently it looks like a level 3, like it's happening to me, I'm a conduit. I donate large sums of money to a charitable group. But there's a part of me that still wants to control how the money is being used. Right? So for example, I want to empower my colleagues, I want to help them to grow, but there's a part of me that still wants to control their growth. That means I'm very clear in terms of how the things should be done, and there's a sense of fear, there's a sense of over management. Then that level 3 could actually be level 2 being disguised as level 3. Right? So when you look at the levels that you like to be on, I would obviously say that this is pretty much a academic exercise, understanding the levels, but how do you operate? How do you live on a daily basis? What do you tell yourself when things go wrong? What do you do when you struggle? What do you say to yourself when you wake up in the morning? And how do you face the rest of the day when you are having difficulty? I always thought that if days went well, that it would be a good day. What if the day that didn't go well was meant to teach me? And in learning, I now am able to solve problems that previously I ran away from. Previously, I never saw a different perspective. But now, confronted by these issues, I'm beginning to grow, I'm beginning to learn. Wouldn't that be considered a good day? Wouldn't that be considered something that I managed successfully? So, when we talk about how we can begin this shift and transform, right? What can you do to get there? Right? I would challenge you to ask yourself, what are some things that you can do to change the way you see yourself? To change the way you operate on a daily basis? Goals are for us to achieve something. One of the things I learned in the reflexive practice class is the power of intention. Intention setting, how I want to be so that I can do the things I have to do. Right? If I want to be able to do more at work to show, I need to be able to be calm. I need to be able to lead with purpose and clarity. So the intention I set on a daily basis is to remain calm under pressure, to be objective, to be able to see things past the current, to see solutions where people see problems, to see opportunities where people see problems. Right? So if you ask yourself what you can do to get there, one of the things I can encourage you to do is to change the way you view your reality. The level of consciousness shapes how you see the world. Your state of mind shapes how you move through it. One is about expanding your vision. The other one is about determining your action on a daily basis. And sometimes when things go well, our action quite clear, quite straightforward. It's only when things don't go well, when you're met with moments of stress and difficulty, how you respond to situations like this reveal to you what your reality really is. right? So we can say things, we can write things, but when we do the things, these little things that we do are evidence of what our inner world is really like and how we actually see things. So the pursuit of vision without purpose. Viktor Frankl said, who are chasing after something, right? The problem with chasing after something is you are reminded daily that you don't already have it. If I'm chasing after happiness, I'm chasing after a life partner, I'm chasing after success. Every day I wake up, I'm stressing out. And that stress basically reminds me I'm still far away from where I want to be. Now, the question is, because I'm agitated, because I'm stressed out, because I still realize I'm far away, can I continue? Do I have the stamina? Do I have the emotional capacity to overcome the daily grind for me to be able to get there? So Viktor Frankl said this, right? And Viktor Frankl wrote this book, Man's Search for Meaning, which became a bestseller and a must read for all counselors in training. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it as a target, the more you're going to miss it. Success, just like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must be a byproduct of how you live your life, an unintended but very pleasurable and meaningful side effect. You dedicate yourself to a cause greater than your own. All right, so if you start a company, fine. What is the purpose of the company you started? To make more money. Exactly. To what end? For what purpose? What is the money going to be used for? Right? Some cynic said this. He started a company and he doesn't have the word profit. Profit is just a word. For him, profit means freedom. Right? To have money to do more. So have money to turn down job that may go against his principles and his values. Money to support his staff, to enable people to grow. So at the end of each day, you got to ask yourself, living your life, does it bring you closer to your vision? Or are you just muddling along, thinking that you're very busy, but you don't have clarity? And because you lack clarity, you feel burnout, you feel tired, you feel stressed. Through all these grinding and activities, you're like a hamster running on a wheel. So one of the things that we also encourage people, our learners, and those who attend our course to consider where your state of mind is at this moment. So the 4 states of mind, it starts with number 1, current reality trap. Moving on, I will explain these in detail in the following slides. A negative spiral. So if you look at the 2 axes, one is in happiness in the now, and one is a vision for the future, right? Stress and anxiety, or a state of elevation. So let's talk about the current reality trap. I am very happy. Life is good. Money is good. There are no visible problems and nothing seems to be lurking in the horizon. No dark clouds. Smooth sailing. Anyone who's lived life will tell you that that is not going to happen forever. At some point in time, you begin to realize, surely there must be more to life than this. And then you begin to fill up your mind and time with things that bring you perceived meaning, but it doesn't give you a clear vision for the future. You are, I would use the word trapped, right? By the sense of contentment, and you're not really growing. So year after year, you go through you get your bonus, you go for holidays, you do well, you accumulate well. And one day you look back and you ask yourself, how much have I actually grown? What have I actually discovered? And then you reach retirement and say, I will do more now. I will give back to society, I will volunteer, I'll do this. And that's where you begin to move away from the current reality trap. Then there's this negative spiral, right? Negative spiral doesn't mean you're broke, doesn't mean you're jobless, doesn't mean there's nothing negative. There may not be any negative about your life, but there's no happiness and there's no vision for the future. You're stuck in a loop, okay? This loop of, so there must be more to life than this, right? What can I do? Why is my life like this? So you may be grumbling to others, you may be grumbling internally, ruminating, but there's a sense of hopelessness. And every day seems to be a grind, right? In my clinical practice, that seems to be like a sure definition of someone who's going to go into anxiety, depression, burnout, but it's not helpful. Relationships suffer. You wake up dreading each day. You go back at night and you sleep. Sometimes you fill your time with perhaps maybe gaming or distractions, hoping that you find some sort of pleasure in the little things you do, but you are trapped. At some point, some of us may be in this state of what we call stress and anxiety. We have a clear vision for the future. I want to be successful. I want to get my confirmation done. I want to get that promotion. I want to be successful, sell my business. I want to do. There are a lot of things I want to do. I want to contribute to society. I want to change the world, etc. But we are trapped because it's causing us stress and anxiety rather than happiness. So I mentioned earlier, the journey is as important as the destination. For people who are stressed and anxiety, the state of stress and anxiety, they have a very clear destination in mind, but they find it very difficult on a daily basis. They feel that stress, that anxiety, pushing forward, but they feel under pressure, right? And there's no joy in the process. And when I talk to people who have a clear vision for the future, sometimes I wonder, when they share the vision for me, whether it's their vision or a vision that's given to them by someone else. What is causing them this stress and anxiety? Do they have that mindset that says, if I achieve, then I will be appreciated? If I achieve, then I'm good enough. If I achieve, then I'm somebody. What does that pursuit actually mean to them? What does that vision mean to them? And of course, the best place to be would be a place of elevation, where happiness is not defined by success. Happiness is defined by the way you live. Happiness is defined by the attitude you had when you encounter setbacks. Happiness is being defined by your interactions with people. I can walk into a room and be affected by the general mood or vibes, or I can be the one that goes in and affect that mood and vibe in that room. Which one are you? Right? So you have a vision of the future, but the journey is as pleasurable. You may be going around in circles, you may be looping around, you may have setbacks, but each setback to you is a point of learning. Each setback to you is a challenge waiting to be uncovered. Each difficult conversation to you is not something to be shied away from, but maybe I want to find out a little bit more. But we are not perfect human beings. Right? As much as we are currently happy, vision for future, guided by a purpose and a vision while we're enjoying the process, we could still get triggered by people. But we are in that process of learning, growing, right? So if you look at these four states, the current reality track, negative spiral, stress and anxiety, and even that state of elevation, where would you like, what state are you in? If you were to be honestly assessing yourself, what state do you think you are in? Okay, stress and anxiety. Let me put it this way so that we can all contextualize. You could be in a state of elevation most of the time, but there's a new project and then you go into this stress and anxiety and you move away from it once you begin to understand what's needed and your fight or flight mechanisms kind of settles down. Then you go and enjoy the process. That's fine. You're not saying that we must be in that state of positivity every single day. Right? There's something to be said about toxic positivity, when we pretend we are happy when we are actually not. Right? So stress and anxiety, I would say, common for many of us, but is that your default state? Do you go through each day stressed out, anxious, worried, fearful, wanting to control how things are, wanting to control how the people around you are? Are you a parent who is constantly stressing about your children's results, or how they're going to get into certain schools that you deem to be preferred over others? Or you stress about maybe your finances, your business, right? Now, there's nothing wrong behind it, right? There's nothing wrong being stressed and anxious. But sitting down and analyzing and taking back control of our life is one of the best ways or first way of reducing stress and anxiety. Coming back to your why. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? What purpose does it serve? Who benefits? How will that affect the people around you? How will that shape the way you live your life? That could help you move slowly away from stress and anxiety and perhaps be a little bit more in that state of elevation, right? Career reality step. This, I think most of us, if you're doing well in life and everything that we need is there, then it may come a point in time where you may begin to question whether there's more to life than that. Then the pursuit of that purpose could be, ironically, pursuing purpose could give you stress and anxiety. Right? So how do you pursue purpose without stress and anxiety? I think you need to sit down and ask yourself what matters to you and why does it matter to you? And how does that show up? Just because people matter to me doesn't mean I'm going to run out there and try to save every single person in the world. Right? If people matter to me, then every conversation is a meaningful one where I choose to connect with someone that gives me a sense of purpose. right? I may be a Grab driver, but I pick up customers with the understanding that I have the power to have that minute of worth of conversation that could take away some of their own pain to make them feel listened, to make them feel heard, right? And now the question open-ended. What is keeping you in this current state? Okay, what's keeping you in this current state? Perhaps we can actually use this and expand from this later on when we are having the Q&A. You tell me what's keeping you there, and perhaps we could actually talk a little bit about how we can move forward. Okay, so some of the things that keep you there, yes. Fear is there. Fear is one of the things that limit us. And what does fear do for us? Oh, sorry, why are we fearful? Well, fear of failure, fear of not being able to meet bills and payments, fear of the unknown, fear of hurting people, fear. What would your life look like if you feared less? If you understood the fear, understood what's driving, and your first instinct is not to run away from the fear, but to actually act on the fear as a prompter for self-improvement, as a prompter for change. Right? So anxiety, yes. Anxiety is a concept. Realize the difference between fear and danger. Danger is real. Fear is in your mind. Right? Fear of outcomes that are not favorable, fear of looking bad, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being a disappointment, that could cause you to be anxious. So inertia, comfort zone, the lack of direction, yes, sometimes exploration needs to be there. If I am stuck in my own mind, thinking of what I should do, I will never figure it out. What I need to do is go out there and try as many things as possible, and through the process of elimination and trying, perhaps discover something that resonates with me, right? So falling behind, fear of not being able to catch up, keep up, stay ahead of others. The question is, if I caught up, if I stayed ahead of others, if I achieve success, what does it actually say about me? What does this success mean to me? What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove it for? I think these are questions that we need to be honest enough to answer, right? No time to think. Yes, on a daily basis, you're reacting at work, reacting at home. And when you say you're stuck in a vicious cycle, I can only guess that sometimes you do the things that you want to do and it backfires and you're back to paddling, and then by the time you recover your feet, you do something and it just seems to be going around and around in circles, right? And fear, yes, fear, yes, fear, yes. If only fear was no longer part of our vocabulary. Right? You have self-confidence, right? Negative comments from others, emotionally drained. I think that's a reality. I too am affected by negative comments. The gut instinct will usually is to be afraid because we are our worth, our competency, our ego, everything is being called into question when someone comments negatively. Now, when we take a step back and you ask yourself, do I have to react and respond to every comment? It's almost as if you walk past a housing estate and the dogs bark at you. Are you going to stop and bark back at the dog? Are you going to stop to throw stones at them because they bark at you? So I would treat negative comments simply as that. If you react, you're giving that comment life, right? It feeds on itself. Ignoring it, not worthy of your time, gives you a sense of control back, right? Second guessing, uncertainty, good. Making unsound decision. So I always stand control, knowing that even I screw, I can still move forward. Good, right? Anxiety, right? Never thought to be able. How would that feel? Would that make me feel better? I wouldn't say feeling is all there is to it. If we went through life trying to do things that could make us feel, and we act only on that feeling, we could also lead ourselves astray, and in a way that until I feel, I will not do. Sometimes when you do, the feeling comes in. I do good. I don't feel like it, but I go for a walk. Then I realize I feel better. I don't feel like talking to my partner because we had a big fight, right? But because I do it, I begin to feel better, right? I thought I saw something. Over years, natural instincts are countered by fear and need to pierce through the floor. Exactly. Okay. Analysis, paralysis, too many options. I think when options present itself, what we need to do is sometimes to work on the process of eliminating. But you cannot eliminate options when they are just swimming around in your mind, right? I always recommend penning your thoughts down on paper, see very clearly. These are the options, or writing on a whiteboard and says, okay, what is the benefit? Maybe every option is viable, what is your priority, which is the first thing you take, and then move on from there, right? So as we think about our lives and as we begin to realize what's holding us back, as we begin to realize there are things that we want in life, maybe perhaps a mindset shift is required, or there are things that we want, but we are kind of like stuck. We get a bit anxious, we're fearful, and we don't feel like we want to move forward. I want to introduce to you this concept of the gap and the gain. Very often, the paralysis and the fear comes when we see how far more we have to go, or we look at the gap in the context of our ability. Let me tell you, your ability will always be challenged, right? I put it this way, if you could swim 5 km in the open sea, you would have done it already. You could swim 5 km in a swimming pool, but does that mean you can swim 5 km in the sea? So you need to practice. So what I'm saying is this: the skills we have, the talents we possess, gets us to one place. The ability to face new situations and adapt to those will take us through the rest of the journey, right? So when you look in the context of, oh my goodness, how much more to do, how far more I have to go, I challenge you to think of it in the way, in a different way. How much more do I need to grow? What other areas of my life do I need to be able to be able to address so that I'm able to finish the journey, right? It's almost as if you're an ultra marathoner. You can look at all the maps in the world, but you don't have the stamina built up over years of practicing, running longer distances, different terrains. You will never look at a 120 km race and say, I'll do this. You look at it and say, oh, yo, you crazy, right? So I think when we look at the gap and again, two things we need to be mindful of. Gaps tell us where we have to go, how much more we have to travel. But when we look at it in the context of ourselves, usually we get very discouraged because we don't think we have the ability or means to get there. And then now we begin to ruminate, right? I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can go that far. I would rather encourage us to do a little bit of a more objective, take on a little bit more of an objective perspective. Look back and look at some of the things you've gained, right? Look at some of the benefits you incurred. Look at the growth you've had in your life. Look at where you were and where you are now. Look at what you were like and who you are today. That could give you a sense of encouragement, a little bit more of a boost. You know that if I could do this then, do that then, I can do this now. And begin the process again of asking yourself, mapping out your own journey. This is the destination. What are some milestones I would like to hit? Don't just think of it in the context of the end point of the journey, because life has no end point. There will always be things that will challenge us. There will always be new mountains to climb, new challenges to face, right? Look at these gaps and says, okay, what is the next milestone, right? Think of yourself like a marathon runner. If you sit down there and say 42 km, you may be overwhelmed by the sheer thought of having to complete 42 km. But you think yourself in the say, okay, 5 km, next 5, next 5, next 5. Okay, negative splits. I will do the next 5 faster. I'm going to challenge myself. I've learned something about this. I've learned something about the terrain. I've learned something about the people I'm like. I am continuously evaluating my current experience, putting things in perspective, shaping the way I think, shaping the way I operate, so that the journey ahead can be a little bit more effective, can be a little bit more pleasant, can be much more meaningful, right? So in our way of thinking, I would like to now take this time to just perhaps to have a little bit of what I would call a guided reflection, right? A kind of short visioning exercise for you, if you would bear with me, right? What I'm going to do is to just get you wherever you are, just to be seated. If you're in a public place, in a hawker center, I hope no one thinks you are going into a trance or anything. But if you are in a private place, in your office, perhaps just sitting down there and just listening to the sound of my voice without getting distracted by anything around you. And for the next couple of minutes, we're just going to focus on what life is like, and we're going to think about what we want and how life can be and should be for us. We're going to sit down and realize that the things we want in life and the resources we need to get these things are already in us. We're going to realize and we're going to give up the things that are holding back. So on the one hand, while we are trying to get the things that we want, we are going to open our hands and also to let go of the things that we don't want. Okay? So we start with this visioning exercise. As you went through the earlier exercises, I just want to close your eyes and ask yourself, where am I right now? What are some of the things that I'm doing to keep me stuck there? Is it the worrying? Is it the constant bickering? Or is it a mindset that says, why is this happening to me? Right? Think about where you indicated that you would like to be. You wanna be able to take each day as it flows. You want to be able to do the things that you have to do, the commitments, the responsibilities, and yet do it with a smile. You want to be able to have conversations with your child, your colleagues, your loved ones, in a way that does not break connection, but drives connection, that brings you closer together. In this moment, as you are being guided by the sound of my voice, I just want you to keep your eyes open if you want, or gently close your eyes if you should think that it's easier to be less distracted. And ask yourself, if there was an ideal day, ideal conversation, ideal interaction that you would like to have with your missus, with your husband, with your child, what would that look like? How would that be? Now, I want you to take that tension in your body and let it go. Take the fear that you may already have in your mind and release it. Focus simply on your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in. And as you breathe out, let the fear go. Let the anxiety go. Let those expectations that don't belong to you, let it go. I want to focus and try to be in touch with the inner sense of self, that part of you that is instinctively telling you, this is right, this is what we should do, and this is what I'm going to do. I want you to visualize a conversation. Perhaps with your missus, with your spouse, with a colleague, or with someone difficult in your life. I want you to visualize yourself sitting down, calm, with a smile on your face, willing to engage, willing to listen, and willing to express yourself, how you feel, how you would like things to be. And pause, giving the person space to respond to you. I want you to listen. What would they say to you in response to what you have said to them? Perhaps there's a fear you have, an anxiety you feel deep within you about moving forward in life. Take this time to pause. Look at the anxiety and the fear. What is it trying to tell you? What is it showing you? Perhaps it's telling you what you should do, rather than to be running away from it, to look into it and to find out what's driving it, so that you're able to do something to minimize it, so that it will be just that quiet voice that will slowly fade away. If you were to fear less and to be able to do the things that you know that you should do, how would each day look for you? How would having a sense of elevated well-being look like to you? The bills may still be there. Difficulties at the workplace will still be there. Challenges that you find because of processes will still be there. But there's a sense of confidence knowing this does not define me. I am much bigger than the problems I'm facing. I have the skill, I have the ability. I know, I can, I will. How would that shape the way you think then? How will that help you to move forward? And I want you to see yourself in a place where you are calm, you are happy, and the people around you feel the same. Because remember, you are a person of influence. The happiness you bring to the home, the happiness you bring to the room, the confidence you bring to every conversation, that's contagious. Allowing that to spread, your child looks at you, realizes that yes, mom, dad, they have differences, they have challenges, but look at the way they're handling it. Look at how confident, look at how quiet they are in the way they deal with it. Now, gently ask yourself, This is me, and this is where I would like to be. What do I need to do to get there? The first thoughts that come to your mind, write them down. Let your inner self tell you. Let your inner self be that guide you're looking for. What do I need to do to get there? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to do more of? Maybe less worrying, less nagging, letting go of control, and being completely happy with not having to control everything. I can influence outcomes, but I don't have to control it. And allowing yourself to enjoy that journey, to enjoy that process. Knowing that the work you put in helping yourself move forward will result in you making a difference to the life of others and even your own. Well, I hope this little guided visualization exercise has been helpful. And I'd like to remind everyone that you are the creator of your own experience. No one but you. If you have belief in a higher being, yes. Believe in a creator, yes, great. But how will you use your faith, your strength to guide you in all the experiences you're going to have moving forward from today? All right, so we're going to get a little bit of commitment. One thing you will do to get started, I'm going to put this up there for you to key in. All right, a little bit of commitment. Can you please just go ahead and share with us one thing you will do to get started? Excellent. All right. I think just doing it, learning from the doing. The real learning is in the doing. You don't learn if you don't do. All right. It's almost as if you're saying you're coming to this Zoom lecture to learn how to swim. Okay. You're not going to learn how to swim. You're going to have to jump into the pool to do it. Okay. Review your current state. Right? Organize your thoughts. Take action. Rest. Letting go of past experiences. Learning to rest. Self-care. Right. Staying focused. Being determined. Yet at the same time enjoying the journey. Surrounding yourself with positive people around you, having a disciplined attitude, okay? Creating a plan and learning to take small steps, being courageous, belief, excellent, right? Reorientating yourself, finding your goals again, right? Challenging yourself in your daily talk so that you are able to have a little bit of a mantra to tell yourself, right? Practicing mindfulness, quieting your thoughts, good, right? Letting go of fear, recalibrating yourself in authenticity, living your life according to your values, learning to align your value system with your belief system, letting go of negativity, small steps, okay? Great, staying calm, quiet place, very good, right? And I believe there's a quiet place in all of us. What we need to learn how to do is to practice finding it. The practice of mindfulness helps us to do that. So no matter how crowded the place, how stressful, you will be the only person in the room that's staying calm while the others lose their head, right? Being grateful, spending 5 to 10 minutes working, right? Letting go of the negativity, right? There will always be negativity, right? Misery loves company. There will be people around us who are negative because that's the only way they know how to operate. I have changed the way I view them. In the past, I used to view this as toxic and I would avoid, but now I view them with compassion, realizing that their negativity is telling me something about their struggles and their pain. And with that understanding, connecting makes it, helping me connect with them makes it a lot easier, right? So thank you very much, all of you, for your for your contribution and for being so active. We are now looking at, hang on a minute, let me just see how we can, right? So we're going to be doing a Q&A shortly, right? So while we get ourselves organized here, there is a slide that has been put up here, QR code on our course. And this course is about reflective practice. It's 2 days. You're going to go through in detail some of what we talked about very briefly here. And you have the ebook, go through it, do your own exercises. For whatever reason, you feel that you want more. You want to discover your values. You want to look at your life and the past experiences. And you want to reframe it to be a little bit more understanding of why things happen. Right? I invite you right, to join us. I invite you to be part of the conversation of change so that we are able to have that 2 days together where I help you journey through and you invest in your own growth and your own development. Right? Are you all mic'd up? Right. So, right. So we're going to have the conversation right now. Let me just get to that right stage. For those of you who want to share some of the things that you want us to talk about, I'm not sure why it's not
You
showing
can
up.
click on the link to this Slido. At the side, there's 2 tabs, right? The other side is for Q&A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let us take a look at it. Yeah. So thanks, Alastair, for bringing us through this quite a refreshing moment for us to reflect on our life and also for where we are at within our life. I'm also very heartened to see that a lot of them have actually gotten some insights. I felt more recharged throughout this whole process, right?
Right. Question time. Come on.
So maybe we'll go into Q&A. I know some of you may need to leave soon, but before I get going, right, just for those who need to leave, we are doing this talk every Friday,
Yes.
last Friday of the month, where we are trying to bring certain knowledge and skills that can help you empower you to take charge and also to overcome some of the challenges in your life. So if you like what you're listening today, do just join the conversations or the mailing list, and we'll keep you updated on it.
Yeah, the nature of the talks and the content will be very much related to the courses we conduct, right? So that you have a little bit of a handle, understanding, and if you want to pursue greater awareness, understanding, knowledge, and to be able to do it, that joining the course will be helpful. But if you just want to be part of the conversation, right, there will be a link for you to join in. We have podcasts that we are creating, talking about daily life situations. It's not all about joining our courses. We really want to live up to our ethos of being part of the community to support individuals. Courses are just one part of it. And for those of you who may not be ready to join a course, be part of the conversation. If you have trouble that you are going through, issues that you're challenged with, you may not be able to find solutions to, let us know. Right? And we will certainly have some time and have a place where we can actually talk about it.
Yeah. So as I say, this whole reflexive practice, right? A lot of people have asked me before, like, what is reflexive practice, right? And why do we bother to do it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe if we could get that started with the Q&A,
Okay.
what is the purpose of this, going through this whole reflexive exercise that you just brought us through?
Reflection is a very important part of growth. Let me give you an analogy. A child is punished. The punishment hurts. Something is taken away from them, something is done to them. Change comes when they sit down and they think about what happened, when they reflect on it. So there's a saying that says, there's a saying that goes, we don't really change from our experiences. We change when we reflect on those experiences. So the practice of reflection is as old as time itself. People have been reflecting all the time. But unfortunately, the reflection can turn into rumination. I relapse on my own devices. I become very critical about myself. I become more sly, more cunning. I prevent myself from getting caught next time. So reflection is more constructive. It's more open. It's about growth, learning. So you can do it for personal life, you can do it for professional life, and you can look at it and say, what can I learn from these experiences? How would people see me if I were to relive this experience? How would I see myself through the lenses of the people around me? So the practice of reflection is ongoing. You think about what you need to do before you do it. You think about what you're doing when you're doing it. And then you think about what has happened after you've done it and how you can improve and do better the next time around. Right?
So as I say, I think today's talk, you give us 2 framework to use as the form of a basis of reflection.
Right.
One is the 4 level of consciousness, right?
Yes.
The to me, by me, through me, and as me.
Okay.
So I think one of the learner asked, like, he has someone who he have to work with who's actually at the stage of to me.
Okay.
And he finds it very draining to keep engaging that person. What can he do to help that person move to the by me stage? At least being aware that they are in charge of their life.
Okay. So but that being drained tells me that you are going round and round in circles with the person. Conversations like this have techniques that help us with it. Again, a bit of salesmanship. We run a course called motivational interviewing, where we turn resistance to collaboration. We turn no's into maybes, and we ask questions that will engage with the person that we are conversing with to get them to think beyond the problem. So in your context, let me just ask you, if you drop the question, right, the person is very much a victim, he's always complaining. A simple question you can ask is this: how would you like things to be? Instead of where you are right now, how would you like things to be? Instead of the problems you have, How do you think you can address this? So I'm not here to provide you solutions. I'm not here to give you advice, which can be very draining, because then the conversation would sound like you tell the person what you think he should do, and he will go, yes, I know, but, yes, I know, but, and then you go like, oh, why is this happening to me? What will be more effective is just to drop a simple question. How do you want things to be? What can I help you to bring about that change you're looking for, so that the current situation, you don't no longer are a victim of it. We're able to break out the cycle and hear what they have to say. And however they respond, the next question you ask them is, what do you think you can do about this? How do you think you can get there? What have you tried? Right? So conversations like this, we do this in the context of counseling, we do this in the context of mentoring, coaching, but these are very important questions to help someone move along without us getting frustrated by their resistance, trying to give them as much as advice, and then we keep getting pushback, because that doesn't happen. Okay, advice is never usually taken until you bring about a certain sense of connection and personal responsibility for that person to want to bring about that change.
So if someone who's stuck trying to change someone, I feel very frustrated. Sounds like they're also stuck at the, for me,
I want to save you, I want to change you, but you are all pin, right? So the two of you are basically talking to each other at a state where it's very unhealthy, very unhelpful.
So we also have another learner who asked this question. Level 4 sounds quite impossible for someone who's doing work that's quite mundane, like just the finance, doing normal finance work, like settlements, procurement. So how can someone like her or him actually be at the level 4 stage, which is life happen
Okay.
as me?
You are a sum of all your experiences. So you are a sum of all your activities. Work does not define you. Look at the context of Japanese craftsmen, the udon seller, the ramen seller, the lady who's cleaning the airport. They don't look at the job in terms of what they do. They look at it in terms of who benefits from there. Okay, so your job could be a means to an end. Yes, I'm stuck doing numbers, but at the end of the day, I'm also doing numbers for a charitable organization. I'm also volunteering my time for other people. I'm also teaching. So you are the sum of your daily experiences. So your daily experiences will include your workplace, your personal space, your social space. And even if you put yourself out there and actually work with us, when I was doing work with prisons in the prison system, there was a group of bankers, right? I'm not going to mention which bank, who came together. They were all personal bankers, private bankers in one of the offshore banks, and they said to themselves, "How can we give back to society, to people that we are more inclined to?" So they get it together, created a financial awareness course, and they went into prisons and they got paid. Every weekend, every Saturday, because they are not working, they will go in and they will run this financial literacy course. So yes, private banking, yes, make tons of money, yes, but now we find a way to live take the expertise we have and turn it into a vision of good that will benefit others. Right?
So I think another tip by learner was, how do you know when to leave an environment versus when to continue to invest your peace and energy in it? Or when, through me, that's me, or even like says, I need to know when to let go. So how do you decide this is time for me to let go?
I love analogies. If you're in a battlefield and you ran out of bullets and you have no support, what's the first thing you need to do? You dig a hole and you go to get out of there. Right? I think life sometimes puts us in places where we are meant to be a person of influence, but if we don't have the resources and we find ourselves slowly getting sucked in, find ourselves slowly losing hope, that is a good sign that we need to recalibrate. What are we doing here? And do I need to take a step back? So when I do coaching in companies with less than healthy environments or culture, or what we call toxic culture, we usually would find that there are small pockets of people who share the same values. Well, for every one person who is negative and toxic, you will find one or two who are positive. Now, the question is, sometimes the positive people go about doing things very quietly. The toxic people who are going around making everyone upset will go around it being very noisy. So as we hear the noise, what we need to do is to search below the noise to look for people who are like us and to gather around, have lunch together, have chats together, support one another, right? And you begin to realize at the end of the day, there's more to life than just the place that you work. Now, if you're in a family environment, same thing. There may be a time where you may have to move on. If you're in a toxic relationship, this relationship tells you that perhaps this may not be the best relationship for you. But if you're stuck there wanting to save someone, you're stuck there wanting to bring about change, I would encourage you to equip yourself at some point also to ask yourself, Why are you doing this? What is your intention?
I think what you mentioned was quite interesting point. Example, if it's something very important to me, like for some of us who may have the experience of going through relationships where, like, near divorce, I have children and things are so important to me, yet at the same time, how do I have the vision of what I want for the family, but this is the point where I'm thinking, does it align with what I want in my love life? So how do you know that kind of balance?
I think that's where a conversation needs to be had, right? People who are on the verge or going a separate way, it's not because it's no longer important. It perhaps is because they feel it's no longer worth it, right? So we need to understand what brought us together in the first place and what was the thing that wedged in and it suckered us drifting apart. Well, they may have an extramarital affair. There could be stress and frustration from unmet expectations, workplace, etc. But when we sit down and we talk about what we do have in common, then the willingness to work on those things you have in common will then outweigh the differences that we have. But until the conversation is had, whether it's through mediation, through a third party, through a counselor, and until both parties are willing to sit and see things from each other's perspective, and not just my own. I sit and see things from my perspective. I'm going to hurl accusations at you. You're going to be defensive. You're going to hurl accusations back at me, and you are better off in separate rooms. But until the time where we are able to sit down and identify what brought us together in the first place, what do we share in common? Our children, our purpose in life. Perhaps maybe the talking about the unmet needs, maybe talking about the frustrations we face outside and how we brought it into the marriage. These are all part of an ongoing conversation. So to me, sometimes to give up hope and just to jump ship. Today we'll jump ship from a marriage. Tomorrow you may jump ship from the workplace. You will be jumping ship all the time. Until you sit down and be able to have that space to have that conversation, you will be running away from difficult conversations all the time.
So I said, I saw just now in one of the questions where we asked what's holding you back, right? There was quite a few response that talks about having unable to find a purpose.
Okay.
So I think this is quite common. It's because I have friends who are in mid-career, they're also thinking like, actually, I also don't know what I'm doing, what am I like? I'm just wondering, how can someone get started to find some direction? If we talk about vision for the future and happiness being now, right? How do we get started with the vision for the future so that then we can think about how to be happy in the now?
Well, the first place to begin is to look inwards, right? So, for example, what excites you? What will wake you up in the morning to do something, right? So perhaps your answer will be football. Football excites me. I see me watching football. Then my challenge to you is, can you take the passion you have for the game and bring that to people who may be at a place where they are struggling? Right. So, for example, if I were to go and visit a village in Indonesia, for example, and bring the game of football to the team of Indonesians, but teaching them purpose or doing something. So, I think it starts with what you enjoy, and then what you can do to enrich the life of those who you feel something for, right? And that could be a place to start. Another place to start is maybe by exploring. This is where we look at courses like the reflexive practice, that course that we run, where we help learners to explore the things that excite them. Some people use the word ikigai. How can I find my ikigai? And they mistake. They think that ikigai must be centered around the work you do. No, it's not about the work you do. It's about the intersection between the work you do, the life you live, the kind of person you are, the personal life, the social life, everything. The intersection is your ikigai. Okay? So there's no one fixed rule where everyone must say, I will find a job and the job gives me purpose, gives me income, gives me that, then I will have a vision of success. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay?
So I'm so hearing that in order to find your purpose, a little bit of exploring your common things that you've been doing, yes, not finding meaning, has to happen.
Has to happen. You need to put yourself out there. I once thought that I would find my purpose in doing volunteer work. Right? It didn't quite happen because I realized I wasn't bringing much value to the people I was volunteering with. So I went back and I did other stuff and I became a little bit more well equipped. Then when the opportunities came to support other groups, I realized that was more impactful. What was also helpful was the love and passion I have for certain things. Right? For example, change, helping people to realize certain difficulties they're facing and then sitting down with them to collaborate, to talk about solutions, possibility. So I think it comes back down to you. What drives you? What makes you feel passionate about? And then slowly using that and looking around you and say, who can my passion benefit? How can I bring it to them so that it can be a benefit to them?
So I start to see the link between some of the concepts they're talking about. As I'm going out there to do things that are not usual in what I'm doing, there's discomfort, there's also comfort. It must be validated by some kind of values or what is it that I do.
Exactly.
And I must learn how to enjoy those process.
Definitely. If you don't enjoy it, it's not going to be sustainable. And I still remember when I used to go and enjoy, I used to work as a volunteer and they asked me to do it in Mandarin. And to be able to talk in Mandarin, I can't speak 5 words in Mandarin without making myself sound foolish. It didn't work. Right? So, forcing myself, pushing myself, trying to do something that it's just for the sake of meeting other people's expectations, that's not a good idea either.
So I think I have one last question before we end today's talk, right? Because the other part that came out quite strongly was fear, unknown, anxiety, and then there are also people who are saying that the pressure of life, bills, expectation of what they want from themselves is also weighing them from reaching the state of elevation.
Yeah.
So this paradox, right? I have a clear vision, I want to do better in life, being around here for me. But at the same time, it's weighing back because I fear that I can't do it. It's just too much responsibility.
Yeah.
What are some concrete steps that people can take to manage this? Okay, good thing to have, but yet it's also not that helpful in someone's life.
So the first thing I would say is not to ignore the fear. Fear, like any of the 3 primary emotions that we have in us, are meant to tell us something. So could it be the fear that you are not equipped to deal with the future? Right? So many of us think we fear the future. That's not the future we fear. We fear the inability to control outcomes in the future. So maybe I want to learn how to be a little bit more mindful. I want to learn how to be a bit more meditative. I want to learn how to be a little bit more patient. So the thing about fear is identifying what it is that fears you. Mary Carey says now's the time to learn about our fears so that we can actually overcome it. Letting the fear run our life, right? Letting the fear ruin the way we think and our ability to think clearly is not the way to go. Right? So I think when we are able to think a little bit clearer through understanding of the fear, we will be able to fear less so that we can actually do more.
So thanks, Alastair, for this session. What I'm getting away is actually this whole purpose of this whole idea of going into this self-discovery journey using reflexive approach is not a one-day thing, or it's not even something like a talk can cover. We really find a purpose. Right? It's a ongoing process, but it's just a starting point for you to start thinking about things.
I hope I planted that seed of possibility in you. Okay? Instead of asking yourself, if only then, my challenge to you is if you transformed your life from the inside, what if you did that? What if you began the transformation inside and it was felt by the people around you and things began to fall in place? What if you tried something that you never did before? What if you stepped out of your comfort zone? I think that's the challenge I have for you.
So thanks, Alastair. I think we're going to conclude for this session with this one last slide. So we actually do this every last Friday of the month. We bring different topics. Previously, we were managing deeper conversation, assertiveness. We're also exploring things like mindfulness, or even things like motivational conversations, time management. So if you're interested to catch on some of these talks that's held by Alastair and some of the other speakers, just join the WhatsApp chat. Then you'll see the QR code on the left side. And again, I think today's talk is just a kickstart to get you thinking. Go back and then think more about this topic, right? But if you need guidance, right, don't give a minute. You need guidance, there's always the course where Alastair is conducting it for 2 days. So you could sign up, join, and it goes a lot more in depth.
So just a little bit more detail.
Yeah. So thank you all very much for spending this time with us, and thank you for taking this 1 hour out to invest here so much. Check in with your own progress and where you are in your own life.
Hi.
Thank you.